welcome to Sequin Girly Creates. This episode is all about my thoughts, my experience with the Seasons of East Summer in New York. If you haven't seen this pattern already, then there are quite a few people sort of now vlogging and talking about it. I think the lovely Adele at Sofa Serenity kind of started it. I have talked about the 3 dresses I have in various vlogs, and there was a request to sort of do a review / advice vlog, so here it is for my lovely viewers who asked. So just going to start with the fact that the pattern, if you buy the paper pattern, comes in this wonderful bag. They have a collection in London, so they have summer, autumn, etc. in London, and then they've started a New York collection. They are a small pattern company. I will start with the booklet for you. So in the booklet you get wonderful colour pictures for every stage. There is really clear measurements at the beginning at the back, and on the back of there to help you decide on your sizing, and also the finished patterns sizing as well. Recommended fabrics which they suggest are light to medium weight woven with drape such as crepe, linen or rayon, and the only other thing you need is a concealed zip, and ideally a concealed zipper foot. I don't know if the zip foot I use is for concealed zips, but I have a zipper foot and I used it. So that's what you get, along with the big A0 sheets, which I traced because I'd not made it before and I know it's something I want to work on. I traced because then I was able to make amendments. You can get a PDF too if you're a PDF preferred person, but for me this is the way to go, particularly with this gorgeous bag. So let's start with my journey. I sewed this one first, and then this one, and then a jersey version behind. I put this one on because when I talk about it I want to show you an adjustment I made. So I'm going to go through woven and my tips and my recommendations, and then I'm going to talk about how I hacked it into a jersey, because if you've seen any of my other episodes you know how much I love jersey, and I'll talk about how I hacked it into a jersey version of the pattern as well. So the pattern consists of 4 pieces, so a front skirt, back skirt, a back top piece which you cut on the fold, and then 2 front pieces. That's it. The front skirt has, I think, what are called box pleats, so you just sew a line and you don't taper it, so it just stops, and you've got one there and one there. The back is officially 2 darts, one here and one here. They're quite substantial darts. In this one I ended up putting, I don't know if you can see there, 2, let me try and sort of bring it in a bit, 2, there it is, 2 extra darts in, and I'll talk about why that is in a minute. The top is gathered at the bottom so that you then fit it to the width of the back skirt, and the front is sewn here and then attached to the skirt. You don't attach down the sides until you've done the invisible zipper. I'm just looking there and what's going on there, that looks weird. It's so bad, isn't it, when you've sewn something and then you start to notice things afterwards. I do that when I decorate as well. No one else ever notices these things. And then you put in an invisible zipper. The instructions are brilliant, but I also used a tip from Rach Stitched Up. She does a whole vlog, Tuesday's tips about invisible zips, and what she says to do is once you've stitched one side with a biro, you mark the other side of the zip when it's zipped up where it should be on the waistband seam, so that you can see it then matches perfectly across. I will link her vlog again below. I linked it in my Sunday sews, but I will link it below because it's a great tip. The zip goes right up under the arm, so if you look here, the zip is here, which when you pull the arm out is here. That's a strange feeling because I've never had a zip go around and into the arm before. I have been talking to people, some people have lowered it down. I worked out for me I probably couldn't because of where it's tight across the bust. So I will give it a go another time and I'll report back on whether you can bring that down. And if you have, do drop a comment below. But for the first one particularly, I just sewed it right to where they said. The invisible zip then goes a good way down. So it's a big invisible zip, it's a 22-inch. And you don't stitch the rest of that side up until you, and the arm until you put the invisible zip in. I would say do that because it does make doing the invisible zip a lot easier. At the bottom there are splits. I lowered the split as well, so I'm going to talk through the adjustments now you can see the parts. So let's start with this bit here. For me, this one is on the lower side and it's about a little bit, sort of about a centimetre above the actual notch. The notch is here for stopping the stitching, but I am only 5'2". I know for Adele and Bex that sews, they said it was a little bit busty. I know that for me, I didn't really want massive amount of bra on show or anything. And if you don't know, I had a breast reduction last year. So working out what works for me now is very different to in the past. So I just sewed a little bit further up here, which is easy to do because the rest then just has a hand stitched binding, folded over neckline. It's just a folded over seam which you hand stitch, so you can easily adjust this to suit you. Because I'm 5'2", my torso is a bit shorter. It's not just my legs that are shorter, and I find for me this distance here is a lot shorter than on a taller person. I find that when I buy clothes in shops that they're all too low as well. So when I first made this was much lower and the waistband was much lower as well. So I actually took it all up at the shoulders to make sure that the waistband was sitting on my natural waist, which is where it looks most flattering. So if you are on the petite side like me, rather than bringing it up here, if you bring up the shoulders, it makes the sleeve more proportionate because you bring it up all the way along here. It lifts up the waistband and also brings this up more to the height it should be. And actually when I made this one, I did the same in the way I cut it as well. So I automatically did it at the height. Sorry, I got interrupted by family life there. So I was just saying, if like myself, you are petite, do take it up at the shoulders. And I took it up probably overall an inch, because it brings everything else up in proportion. Let's talk about how I sized mine. So having read the measurements, I have about a bust 36 to 37, a waist 31 to 32, and can't remember my hip, but it doesn't really matter so much in this. I looked at it all and I graded from a 12 up here to a 14 at the waist and back to a 12. Whether it was the nature of this fabric or what, it was loose. It didn't look ridiculous, but it looked loose once I'd sewn it up. So I actually added a second set of darts at the back to make it more fitted around the waist. That made it a lot more flattering, because I find that if it's fitted here, it's way more flattering. So I did that, and then on the non-zip side, I took it in all the way down. Now for me, what I found was, particularly until I took up the shoulders, I had no waist here because of the sleeve. So for future ones, I've realised that because I'm petite, otherwise I don't have any kind of gap here. I've actually taken it up and round a bit like this on this one. So can you see here compared to here? I've got more of a waist definition, because I do like the flowiness of a sleeve, but I was looking like a bit swamped. So I adjusted it on my pattern. I've still got plenty of sleeve. I made sure that on this one, I adjusted the pattern at the shoulders. So this one I didn't have to take up, and you can see where it sits. It sits perfectly in the right place. I did the zip the same. You can just about see the zip thing there, and down. This one, I did the depth the same as this one. I think I came up slightly more here because I just didn't want to be worrying about people at work seeing my bra. Now if you look at this, I'll lean in a bit, I'll zoom in for a minute. You can see some gathering here. I'll put a picture in here now of the original neckline when I first stitched this up, and I'd actually folded in a more significant amount here, but I unpicked that and actually put a little gathering stitch here, because one of the things that, although I think it's part of the design to have it here and down, again, probably because I'm petite and not very tall, it was sort of looking like it swamped me. So I thought I'd try for you all on this one, before this video, a gathering stitch. And actually, I find where that's a bit more open there for me, this gathering stitch works really well. I actually haven't stitched down this front edge at all, and I don't think I need to. It's not going to pop out or pop under, so I'm just going to leave it. I did stitch round the back. I'm just going to turn around for you to see. Now I turned that under a reasonable amount, so I'm going to zoom back out again now. And what I would say is it's the one tweak, I will be making a fourth one, it's the one tweak I still want to work on, is I don't like it riding up around the back of my neck. Now that's a personal preference. It's probably to do with the fact that I'm trying to have good posture. Now I'm 2 kilograms lighter here than I was a year ago. I don't hunch so much, but I'm trying to fix this posture, and I'm not sure that's as flattering on me. So I am going to look at whether I can just bring that back here. Can you see the difference? That just disappearing. So I will report back on that as well. I didn't change the length at all. You might choose to, obviously because I bought it all up, it did bring it up slightly. If you prefer a slightly shorter length, if you're petite like me, you might want to shorten the length, but for me, I do like a mid-calf length, so this was a mid-calf for me. I think it's supposed to be just below the knee. Let's have a look at a picture of somebody in it. Let's have a look. There's some good pictures. So you can see there on the neckline what it's more like. It's supposed to sort of like slope up there slightly, but because I'm so petite, it just was swamping me there. I'm just looking for the other picture. There's a full length picture here. It probably is just below her knee there. So I like the length. If you're petite and want a shorter length, then you might want to shorten that. And also you might want to think about where like the split falls when you sit down. Now this one I left the split quite long because I know I'll probably wear it with tights in the autumn and winter, so I'm not worried that it's sort of exposing mid-calf upwards, mid-calf down. When I stand up it's only just above my knee, but when I sit down you have to remember the split will rise further up, so I would say it's probably about a good 8 inches past my knee, which at work not always wanting, but with tights fine, but you could easily bring it down without it causing difficulty to move around or anything like that. What I'm going to do now, because I think I've talked about all the adjustments on here, is I'm going to swap this dress for this one, and I'll talk to you about how I turned it into a jersey dress. Okay, so the pattern is only designed for woven and has a side seam zip, as we talked about, but I liked it so much I really felt that there was the potential to do a jersey, and lovely Sally, who has an Instagram account, who I met at the Staffordshire Social, had made a jersey version. So I was like, right, let's do this. I decided to go for a stripe because, as you can see here, I played with the direction, and because it's 2 pieces at the front, it was really easy to do that. And that's something I love to do. If you haven't seen, there is a vlog I've done all about sewing with jersey, where it's like, can I do it, I think it's called. And I go on a journey of creating a self-drafted twist front dress, and I play with the direction. So that was a great one. This I think is a Tilly and the Buttons fabric that I bought. I didn't buy from them, but it's the perfect weight. It's like a slightly thicker t-shirt weight, so it was just perfect for this. So you can see I cut the pieces out again with that slightly higher curve here, and remembering to do the shorter shoulder. But, and this is where I'm going to sound fancy now, you need to think about negative ease. So negative ease is where it needs to be a little bit tighter than it should be because it's going to stretch, and you don't want it baggy when you're using a jersey fabric. So to do that, I took some off each side, just a little bit, remembering it doubles up when you do both sides, etc., to cut it out. But then when I serged the seams, I was quite generous with my serging, knowing I could always go back and serge a bit more, because you can never add it on, but you can take it off. So I did this side twice. I did it once, and then it felt I could bring it in a bit more, and did it again. So next time I do it, I'll know how much to do. I didn't do anything specific up here on this one because I felt the jersey would be a lot more forgiving around the neck. Here I did bring this up a little more because jersey can sometimes pull down at the waist. I did the box pleats at the front just like the pattern, and the darts at the back, but because I forgot, this is a little tip, because I took more off these two sides, the darts are actually further over. I should have moved them in a bit. So that's something to think about for next time, and for you to think about, is if you're going to make a jersey version, bring your darts in a bit, because you'll lose some off the side, so the position won't be quite right. So you will want to bring them in. And for the top, what I did think about it. I did think about doing like box or release pleats here, but I actually decided to, when I pinned the top to the back skirt, I stretched the back skirt to the width of the top, so that when I serged it and then it pinged back into size, it gathered it, and you can see it there. So then it gets that bagging out. I will put pictures in at the end of me wearing each of them, so you can see how they look on a person rather than on the mannequin. I've made the decision on the sleeve not to do any kind of hemming. Now, if you've got the right kind of jersey like I have, this is the kind where if you give it a bit of a stretch, it does like a natural curl. I actually prefer that on something loose and floaty like this. If I do a twin needle or anything like that, it's going to create a weird weight that means it won't hang that way. Round the neck, because it's folded here and here, it's naturally curving under, so I don't think I need to do anything here. And at the back, again, it's doing the same, so don't need to stitch anything there. So it's brilliant for that, is that there's very little stitching to do. With the side seam, I'm going to do the same. It's already naturally curling under, but just be mindful to reinforce where the split is at the end of the side seam, because that's where pressure will come and that will pull there. So I am going to go back, possibly with my twin needle, just over those edges there, just to give it a bit of strength to prevent, when you're walking and things, that pulling. And I'm also not going to hem the bottom, because you can see it's just perfectly just curling like that. Different jerseys I would do that differently, and probably along the bottom I would do like a twin needle or something like that. But the way this is hanging, and I waited till I put it on and looked how it was hanging before I made that decision. Lessons I've learned from making it in jersey. Most things can be done with your overlocker or Maraflex or whatever you normally use. I use my variegated thread on my overlocker. Let me zoom in a minute. And I love that. It brings a bit of joy to the inside. But because I'm not hemming the edges, I need to make sure this doesn't start unraveling. So I'm actually going to stitch over that join there again, possibly with just my twin needle at that point there, almost like a barring stitch to protect it. Now when I stitched these, I wanted to do the box pleats and the darts at the back with a stretch stitch, but I didn't have any white Mariflex. So I actually looked it up, and I've used the Lightening Stitch that's on my sewing machine. It's just one of the options. But look here, I don't know if you can see, hang on. Yeah, can you see here? Even though I backstitched, because this is the natural point of tension, I've had one wear and it's doing this. So I need to go back in there and really reinforce those points, because I want them to be secure, but I don't want this thread business. If we look at the darts on the back, they're absolutely fine because they go to a point. So that's something for the future, is I might do a normal dart next time, but I will resolve that to just to protect it like this. But you can see this is the natural point where you need a bit of stretch so that it's got the negative ease, and I just need to protect that point there. Let's zoom back out and get back out. So sometimes with a pattern, what we might ask people is, will you make it again? Well, I think you know the answer already, yes, because I've now made 3, and I am thinking about a 4th. I'm thinking of different ways to play with things like the shoulders, the zip, and so on. I have wondered about what would happen if I gathered the sleeve. I don't know if it would pull underneath, so I'm just going to have a little think and a play. I might make a test of just that bit. Would I make a jersey one again? Yes, I would. I wore it, I had compliments. It is definitely a secret pajama outfit that looks really put together. So I would highly recommend making a jersey one. It would be a good early jersey sew if you haven't made a huge amount, because it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 overlocked bits. That's it. You could even leave these out if you did just thought about your negative ease. I would highly recommend it. I would say do a few like in the Tilly's stretch book or something first to get a few ideas, but this could definitely be, you don't need to be a hugely experienced jersey sewer to do this, I would say. Things to watch out for when you do this is, when I made my first one, this one, I got the 2 front pieces the wrong way round, and I was thinking, why are they so much wider than the skirt? So I got the pattern pieces back out, because I thought, have I cut it wrong? But I got the pattern pieces back out and I rotated them round, and I realised that I'd got them the wrong directions, because they look very, very similar. It's hard to explain, but they look very similar whether you're this way round or the other way round, because you've got 2 straight edges. You got that one, and I'd ended up having that one at the bottom and going, why is it so wide? So just really watch which way around your pieces are. But apart from that, I would highly recommend this as a make. Add it to your list. I think I wore this one to a party, so it definitely can be like a sort of a nice going out dress. This is going to be a perfect autumn into winter, because I can see already wearing a long sleeve top underneath, tights, boots, etc. But so easy to wear at this time of year. You can dress it up or dress it down. It is a great dress, and well done, Seasons of East. I can't wait to see what you do next, but I hope that's been helpful, sharing my journey in creating this wonderful dress. The zip has converted me to putting invisible zips in, which says a lot about a pattern if you know my terror of zips. Have a great week, and I'll see you soon.